Welcome back to the channel. In this episode, we'll be looking at the novel Hatchet. This is a book that my son recommended me reading, and since it's part of the reading challenge that I do for 2025, to take books that people ask me to read or want me to read, and read it, and then review it. So he asked if I would read this one. I had never read it before. I had never even heard of it before. I guess this is sort of the equivalent of when I was in elementary school. It was Where the Red Fern Grows by Wilson Rawls. Here it's Hatchet by Gary Paulson. So before we get into it, it's not going to be a very detailed or long analysis of the book because it's kind of short. But before we get into that, again, please like, subscribe, turn on notifications. Leave a comment down below. I love hearing from you. And also spread the word. It helps me out, and I appreciate your support. So, this book follows 13-year-old Brian Robeson. His parents just got a divorce. And it's this big secret that he has. He knows his mom is seeing a man with short blonde hair. His father, at least as far as he knows, does not realize that yet, does not know. And so it's become his secret. He has seen his mom with the man with the blonde hair. And they've been, kissing in a way that just friends don't do. It's something more than that. So he knows. And the divorce kind of rips his life apart. So his mother lives in New York City. His father is working in Canada, kind of like the northern Canadian forest. They're basically oil drilling. So his mother has custody during the school year. His father gets visitation privileges in the summer. So it is at this time when he's boarding a single passenger Cessna plane going from Hampton, New York to Canada where his dad is. And they're flying, and the pilot is kind of keeping to himself, not saying a whole lot. Brian's not saying a whole lot either. But then the pilot sort of opens up a little bit, and he even lets Brian fly the plane. And to him, this is like really cool. This is cool. I mean, I'm actually flying the plane. I'm doing it. And then the pilot kind of shuts back into himself, puts the headset on, and kind of goes back into himself until the pilot starts to rub his arm and his shoulder, and he's doing this kind of motion, and you can kind of sense what it's already going to be because it usually starts that way. Then he clutches at his chest, and his leg he's like popping and flopping back in his seat, is kind of the way it puts it. The pilot basically has a heart attack in the air. And and as the pilot's doing all this flopping around before he passes, the plane's getting moved. So they don't know, he doesn't know if he's going on course or off course, and how far off course he's going. So the pilot basically dies midair, and Brian has a decision to make. Do I take myself down now, take my chances, or do I fly until I'm out of gas? And for a 13-year-old, it's not an easy decision. But he decides he's going to fly until basically the engine cuts down, shuts off, and then he's going to try to bring himself to what he hopes will be like a lake or a pond, some kind of water, because he knows the trees they'll rip the plane apart. So he's looking to try to get into somewhere where there's water. And he's able to do that, but he has no idea where he's at. And he has to basically learn all these survival skills because he virtually he has nothing except for a hatchet that his mom gave him on the way to the airport. And this hatchet is the thing that kind of saves him for basically 54 days. I believe it said he was missing. And he's trying to figure out, how do I start a fire? And he has sort of like this camp thing set up where it's a little bit of a housing kind of thing. And he's striking he throws the hatchet at the wall. He's actually throwing it at something that's attacking him. It sparks off the wall. And he realizes, I can make a fire. Somehow. I just gotta find the right stuff that makes a fire. The book, I think, is good. The story is good. I think there are a few things that don't seem to add up a whole lot. And that's a bear that he encounters as he's gathering raspberries. And the bear just decides to leave him alone. Of course, he's not moving, so maybe he's doing the right thing, but I mean, in all circumstances, what are the odds of a bear leaving you alone? And then he comes across another bear that has cubs, and the bear growls at him, and that's it. Lucky, I guess you could say. He also has a porcupine come into his area and attack him. Thumps his tail, and he gets the needles in his leg. And then the porcupine's gone. Eats the rest of his turtle eggs that he was able to get. A moose is running him over. Just running him over, picking him up and running him over. Female moose. And nope. Doesn't say really why. But then just takes off. And then there's a tornado. So, I mean, and the tornado the wind seems to have a life, because it picks him up and brings him down, and picks him up and throws this stuff all over, and then it lets up, and then it starts back up and does this again, and then all of a sudden it's gone. So with all this, there's a lot of luck on his side after he gets stranded after the crash. In the end, to make this a really short story, it's only 189 pages. He is able to get back into the plane that crashed. And in it he finds a whole lot of stuff. Sleeping bag, a nice little mattress kind of thing, food, an emergency transmitter, which he turns on. He's turning on and off. It's not doing anything, so he doesn't think it's doing. He sets it aside. And he decides, I'm going to cook myself a meal. I got pots and pans now, and I got this, packet food. But I can make food now. I'm not just hunting fish and birds and stuff like that. And it's while he's making the food that all of a sudden, boom, this plane flies overhead. And lands and says, I was following your emergency signal. And it just seemed very rushed in the way that he was rescued. There was, he went from having all the primitive tools to having nothing to then having the backpack that had everything that got him rescued. The lesson that he does learn the most is that food is of the necessity. No matter whether you like it or not, he's not going to take that for granted ever again. Also, certain things, certain survival instincts, the way his mind thinks, that's never going to change again. For the first week that he's back, it seems that his parents are going to get back together, but they don't. It goes back to the way it was. I think it's interesting, though, in the book, in the epilogue, that it says during the time that he was on, that he was basically a castaway almost. He lost 17% of his body weight. Which he gained 6% back. Had virtually no body fat, so his body had consumed all the extra weight, and he would be lean and wiry for many years. It's kind of interesting that the author decided to give us that fact. Overall, it was a good story. I think there were a few things. I know it's like a children's book, young adult book, but there were certain little things that the author does that just kind of annoyed me a little bit. A lot of repetition, repeating the same thing: divorce secret, divorce secret. Saying the same words 6 times in like 4 lines. I thought that could have been a little different. The way he uses when he's using Brian's thought process as, oh, I can get the fire going. Oh, I could get the fire going. It's just, those little things kind of keep coming up. And that was sort of the detraction of the book. I gave it 4 stars. I thought overall it was a good story. I know there are more books later on. My son said he didn't really understand those. But he liked this one and he wanted me to read it. So I read it. And it was good. I mean, everybody I talked to, they're like, "You haven't read that yet?" I'm like, "No, I hadn't even heard of it." I said, this was like my equivalent of when I was in elementary school, like Where the Red Fern Grows and Summer of Monkeys by Wilson Rawls. Those were the books that we read. This wasn't around yet. But yeah, 4 stars. I liked it, and I thank my son for referring it to me. And if you have any books that you might want me to read and review and talk about on here, leave it in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you, and I always respond. So, yeah, 4 stars. And with that, please subscribe, subscribe, turn on notifications so you know when new videos come on out. Leave a comment down below. Like I said, I love hearing from you guys. I always respond. Also, spread the word. I appreciate it, and I appreciate all your support. It means a lot. And as always, until next time, keep YouTube literate, and God bless.